Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to OAA Now here on Sammy Taramina, blog around the OAA, the host of Last Week Brain Cells and the host Queen Taraminas on Orion Television. I'd like to welcome those watching on Local Voice on SoundCloud and those watching Orion Television. This week we continue our talking to three coaches in a couple of weeks here. Football near the corner here. We're going to start with the coach at the Ravens, Coach Colin Campbell. Coach, thank you for calling in this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Let's look at last year. I mean, like, you look at Royal Oak, went 3-6 last year. Recap last year for me.
A year we were looking to continue to grow. I think we had some kind of unfortunate injuries for us, but still, guys got to step up and continue to learn. And I thought we had a lot of young guys do a lot of really positive things. And I think we as a program, still took some steps forward. Obviously, we want the record to reflect those positive steps, but I think there were a lot of things that were going well, and we just need to continue to work at it and improve. And
when you look at, of course, the history here, and I did take some notes here. You guys are 12-40 since 2019. But you did beat Clawson last year in Week 9, 21-7, taking them out of the playoffs last year.
Yeah, that was, coach over there at Clawson does a really great job. I mean, he's built a great program, and we picked him up as somebody who, pretty close to us. We thought it'd be, a lot of fun to play that game, and it was a tough game, and he had a really great squad, and so it was a battle. I mean, it was really competitive, which is really what we want, right, is competitive football games. So we enjoyed it, and the kids, obviously, the senior night, were really excited about getting that win and then trying to build some momentum moving forward.
And when you look at this year, you look at you guys, offensively, Royal Oak last year had scored 115 points, 12.7 points per game last season. You got your quarterback coming back, and I noticed some very good running backs and receivers coming back. So talk about your returning players coming back, especially in the skill players, the offensive side of the ball.
Yep. We've definitely got some guys coming back. Our running back room is pretty strong. We actually return all of those guys. So Liam Fleming, Gage Orzel. We're going to be bringing up some other guys as well that I think will be quality for us. Gene Robertson. So those guys are going to be really quality. I think that run game will continue to excel. We've got some skill guys. Javian Johnson is one of those guys that he played well for us as a junior. He'll be a senior this year. Really excited for what he can do. And so I just think, we're going to have both some youth and some more veteran guys that I think will be a great mix for the offense. So we're pretty darn excited.
Talk about, of course, your quarterback, Ben. Obviously last year he was up and down the quarterback. How has his development been this offseason?
So Ben has continued to develop. He's put in a ton of work. He's just continuing to learn and improve, which is all, we can ask for and want. And we just want him to go out and play with great confidence and great joy, which so far this summer he's been doing. So we're just really excited to see him get some pads on and what that looks like.
And then also talk about your receivers. Obviously, you got Liam and Andrew coming back. Both those guys saw a significant time last year. Talk about those two guys.
Yeah, both quality players. Like I said, excited for what they can do. And then there's a couple young guys behind them that can spell them, right, and give them a bit of a break that we're excited for as well. So, just, again, guys continuing to put in the work and put in the time, which was what we're asking for in our program.
And then let's look at the lines. Before we talk defense, obviously, Corey Johnson's a guy that's coming back. So any impact players on the line that you're looking forward to making that next step up?
Yeah, so we got Corey coming back, which he's our only returner that, played, lots of snaps last year. We got some young guys that we're looking at to step up. We've moved some people around. So, we're excited to see those guys take steps forward and develop. And it's just going to be a competition for who gets to earn, those different spots and who gets to start. And then who gets to kind of be, that role guy, that sixth offensive lineman. So there's no certainty yet. We got to get pads on, and kids have been working hard, but we got to see what they do. Once we get padded up, and who's going to take those positions.
And then let's look at your defense. I mean, obviously, you did return a very good linebacker in Julian Zettel. So talk about your defense, especially in the linebackers and also in the defensive secondary.
Yeah, no. So linebacker wise, we return, a couple different sophomores, and then they will be juniors. They played as sophomores last year, and we have a couple guys who will be seniors. Really great communicators, really see the field well, which is what we need. And they're willing to get downhill in the run game and be physical, right? Which is so important, right? In high school, at any level of football. But we're really excited about that linebacking group. And then that corner group and safeties, it's definitely going to be, kind of solidified by, we've got a couple of good corners, safeties. We've got numerous options that we're kind of just seeing who's going to be the best fit. And there's always going to be a rotation, right? We need lots of guys to be able to play. So it's a group that communicates well. It's a group that's pretty darn smart. And so we're excited to kind of see what they look like.
Any X factors that OA Nation needs to know about when looking at Royal Oak football? Any X factors?
I don't know if it's necessarily any X factors. I just think we've got, I think our X factor is that we've got a group of guys that wants to work really, really hard and is willing to do whatever role is needed. And so I think that's kind of our X factor, is that we've got a bunch of people willing to work really hard, and lots of kids that want to step up and are ready to step up and are ready to fill different roles. And so I think that's what's going to be our X factor.
And then let's talk about the schedule. You guys open up the year week 1 against St. Clair Shores Lakeshore. We're going to talk the non-league first before we talk the division. So
Sure.
when you look at week 1 taking on the Shoreans, so talk about having to play Lakeshore week 1.
Well, I mean, anytime I think, you get a team over from that area, they're going to be, a quality opponent. They're going to be a tough-nosed opponent, right? They play over there in a great conference. And so we were looking for someone who, we're, again, trying to find someone who will give us a really quality game in week 1 and kind of sharpen our skills, trying to get ready for what's an incredibly tough league in the OAA.
And then week 2, you get to play Bloomfield Hills in a crossover. You get to take on new coach Scott Merchant over there. What is your thoughts? You know what I mean? Looking at that matchup week 2. I know you're focused on week 1, but seeing that schedule picks, seeing Bloomfield Hills week 2.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's, it's going to be really exciting to see a quality opponent. I mean, Coach Merchant is an incredible coach. I mean, obviously what he did in high school and then going over to LTU. So we're sure that Bloomfield is going to be a quality opponent, but that's who we want to see, right? So we're excited to have that be one of our crossovers and get things going at their place and go out and compete against what will be a quality opponent.
And then this came up week 4, taking on Livonia Clarenceville. How did this matchup come about?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So last year we had, when the OAA kind of did some of the realignment stuff, we had an open week in week 4, and we were just hunting around for an opponent because filling, those middle weeks can be a little bit tough sometimes. And, one of our, we had someone in the athletic department know someone over there, and we just, we're reaching out to a bunch of different teams, and they got back to us and said, yeah, we got an opening. We can definitely do a 2-year agreement. And so we went to their place last year, and it was a great football game and a great environment. And now they're going to come to our place this year.
And then week 8, you take on Rochester. Rochester, well, coach under Coach Eric Vernon. A lot of experience come back over there. So that should be a really interesting game.
No, that'll be a great game. I mean, Rochester is such a good football program. I mean, they've, all the Rochester schools, period, are great football programs. But Coach Vernon has done an awesome job over there of building that program over a long time. And they're just year in, year out going to be really well coached. They're going to be really disciplined. And you're going to, it's going to be a very competitive, very physical football game. So we're excited to kind of see, them and get after in week 8.
And then week 9, you get to go to Clawson. I mean, obviously, they're going to want you guys after what happened last year. So, and we talked earlier about the 21-7 game. So what's going to be your thought process, the team's thought process when they head over to Clawson to take on the Trojans.
I mean, that'll be, week 9. That'll be obviously a really important game for us. And the thought process is going to be like every week, right? We've got to, have our game plan. We've got to know what our cues are. We've got to know what we're looking for. And then we've got to go out and compete. And Clawson's going to be a tough place to play. Their fans, traveled over to our place last year. I'm sure they're going to be very supportive. Coach over there has done a great job. So that's going to be a tough opponent to play. But we're always excited to play those games.
And then let's look at your division. You're in the gold this year. You got 2 new coaches in that division. So we're going to talk them first, and then we're going to save the best for last, your rivalry game with Berkeley, which is going to be on your homecoming. So talk about, we're going to start off with Avondale. Of course, Avondale's got a new coaching staff. So what's your thought process on Avondale?
We'll be interested to see, what they look like. Like Coach Meyer over there, the past couple of years did incredible stuff. I mean, Coach Bell before that. So obviously it's Avondale, right? So they're going to have great athletes. They're going to have tough kids. They're going to have smart kids. So it'll just be, all right, hey, what's the scheme, offensively, defensively that we need to kind of prep for, and how is that going to look different than it has in years past? But we know, the quality of kid that they get over there. So there's going to be no question that it'll be, again, another great opponent in the gold.
And then Ferndale, let's talk about them. They also got a new coach as well. So talk about Ferndale in your eyes.
Yeah, no, we're again interested to see kind of where they go. I mean, Coach Royal did such a good job for so long there. I mean, like I said, to me, it's pretty similar. Like we know they're going to have, quality football players over there. And so we know that there's going to be no doubts about their competitiveness. It'll just be the offensive and defensive scheme and kind of how we prepare and go about, preparing for that game.
Then we get Pontiac. Obviously, Coach Jefferson, over there at Pontiac's done a nice job of that program. So what's your thoughts about Pontiac?
We know it's going to be a good ball game. I mean, Coach Jefferson, has done an incredible job over there at that program. We always know it's going to be a competitive game and a dogfight. And so, for us, it's just always trying to make sure that we focus on what we need to prepare because we know Pontiac's going to come in prepared and they're going to be ready to play and excited to get after it. And so we just try and bring that same mentality.
And then last but not least, this is one of my most favorite rivalries I've ever known. The Battle of Woodward, of course, the street sign. You got Lexington on one side, Catawba on the other side. Talk about that rivalry with Berkeley, because I know your kids get excited for this game.
Oh, no, they do. I think both sides get excited. I mean, this game, it means a lot for both programs. And obviously that was a loss for us last year, and that hurt, and it was frustrating. That's the game you always want, right? And it's a great rivalry. I mean, both fan bases show up and show out, and it's an intense deal. I know both programs really kind of circle that one on their schedule and get excited for it. So we're excited. I mean, Berkeley will be, again, another tough opponent. Like, you don't get a week off in the OAA, whether you're in the gold or the red. Like, it's a tough deal every week. And so that's one where, it's a rivalry game. It's a big deal, but we still have to really, focus on our preparation to make sure we're prepared, or nothing else really matters.
And that's going to be a really interesting game as well. That'll be a fun one over there. Isn't that your homecoming game this year?
No, our homecoming will be Clarenceville. That one's the week after.
I apologize.
No worries.
Let's talk about program strength. I mean, obviously Royal Oak. I mean, obviously the youth levels there. Talk about the youth levels. Talk about the sub-varsity programs, and talk about the middle school programs at Royal Oak.
Yeah. So I mean, the youth program. That's the Titans. They're doing a great job of developing kids. For us, and we, we're trying to work with them and continue to grow that partnership. The middle school, we're always excited for. They do a great job of getting kids out and excited about football. And then our JV program has had a lot of success the last couple of years. So it's just working on growing that success and having that eventually translate up to the varsity level. So our entire coaching staff is absolutely incredible, and they do a great job of improving athletes throughout the entire roster and from JV to varsity. And so it's just always kind of continuing just try and strengthen and improve that program and get kids excited about playing, for the Royal Oak High School football brand.
And then talk about the numbers over there at Royal Oak. I mean, obviously that's been I'm very curious to see how the numbers have been going for you guys.
Yeah, no, numbers. I mean, numbers are solid. Kids are still coming out. And kids are they've been great in the summer. With our getting in with our strength and conditioning coach and getting after it, and then obviously some of our field work as well. So the numbers have been solid, and the kids are just working. And that's all you can do, right? When you're trying to get better, trying to improve, it's all about that process, all about that work.
Then let's talk about the community aspect. Obviously, you look at Royal Oak. Obviously, talk about the community and how much the impact has been for Royal Oak football.
I mean, the community is great. Like, you've got a bunch of really supportive people. I mean, we have the fans are incredible. Our homecoming last year, I just distinctly remember. I mean, the place was, absolutely packed in almost all of our home games. There's a huge contingent there, and the fans are widely supportive, and so it's great to see, right? Like, I mean, that community aspect is really awesome and really wonderful, and the community comes out on a Friday night. And there's no better place to be, in my opinion, on a Friday night than a high school football game, watching kind of the purest form of football and kids getting after it and trying to celebrate both the community and kids in the community. And so the community's been really great, and we're, excited and appreciative of what they've been willing to do.
And then let's talk about the uniforms. Obviously, you look at Royal Oak having the all-black look, the all-black attire. Any changes to the uniforms this year at Royal Oak?
No, we're keeping them. Nope, we're keeping the same. Maybe looking at next year, getting a new set of home uniforms, but we'll see. But so for this year, we're keeping everything the same.
And then let's look at, of course, the, you look at Royal Oak. People have always, when I look, and I watch a lot of Royal Oak football, of course, on the YouTube page. Royal Oak Schools does a really nice job. Talk about the relationship with the administration. I mean, like, obviously, you got a new athletic director in there. Talk about the academic aspect of Royal Oak.
Yeah, I mean, the academic aspect is great. I mean, you're talking to, I teach, an AP class. We have another coach on staff that teaches, multiple APs. So you've got a really strong academic component to Royal Oak. Royal Oak's a great school district. It's going to challenge kids. It's going to offer kids great opportunities, whether it's, academically, or whether we're talking about we have a great video production program. We have great performing arts. So kids really get a ton of different aspects and options when it comes to Royal Oak schools, it was awesome. And it's what every kid deserves. And we're so lucky to be able to offer so much. And then administration is awesome. I mean, we're really excited, with our athletic director, Mr. Smith. I think he's going to do a great job. And administration's been very supportive. So we just appreciate they're willing to support, football, but any sport or any of our kind of extracurriculars, which I think are huge for kids to be successful.
I hate to put you on the spot here, but what's it going to take for Royal Oak to be, the expectation, the playoffs? Obviously, to bring the postseason to Royal Oak, what's it going to take for you guys to get into the postseason this year?
No, it's a great question. It's going to take work. There's no other way I can explain it other than it's going to take continuous work and it's attention to detail all the time. And that's what we're coaching. That's what we're preaching. It's just this continual attack of our process and pushing each person on our coaching staff, in our program, on the team to get better and better and better every single day. And if we continue to attack our process and trust in it and really continue to collectively push ourselves and buy into that work and just move things along, 1% by 1% every day, that's how we get back to the playoffs. It's this continuation of relentless hard work. And there's not going to be a shortcut. There's not going to be anything that will, change that magically overnight. It's going to be continuing to do that work and do that process. And that's what we're working towards.
Before I let you go, Coach, what is your expectations this year for Royal Oak football? When you look at the Ravens this season, you look at Royal Oak. You got a lot of experience coming back. You got a lot of young proven talent coming back. I mean, there's a lot of excitement at Royal Oak. So, what is your expectation this year for the Ravens this upcoming season?
Our expectation is to go out and compete every game, every week, every quarter, every minute of it. Our expectation is to compete. And I agree with you. There's a ton of excitement, and we're excited. The kids are excited, and so again, we're ready to go out and compete.
Royal Coach Colin Campbell, thank you for calling in this week on the podcast. I will see you at Media Day.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. That was Coach Campbell of the Ravens. When I look at Royal Oak this season, there's a lot of excitement, but also I got a lot of concerns. I mean, obviously, Royal Oak does have a lot coming back. They did return the majority on the offensive side of the football. Offensively, this is a team that I think, they could turn things around quick. It'll be interesting to see how Royal Oak does, especially when you look at the schedule they got. Lakeshore is an interesting one, week 1. Bloomfield Hills, Rochester, I think are going to be challenging games. Clarenceville on Royal Oak's homecoming, it's going to be really interesting. You look at what Royal Oak, a lot of positives with them. A lot of positives. Expectations are high when you look at Royal Oak, and I think that's going to be the key going forward is, can Royal Oak, can the Ravens, I think it's a team that could really do some wonders this year. So, we'll see what happens with Royal Oak. I think Royal Oak could surprise some people, but I also think Royal Oak can also do some damage this year. So we'll see what happens. All right, everyone, come back here. We're going to talk to Troy coach Chris Frazier here on the podcast. Welcome back to OAA Now. Here, I'm Sammy Termin here. We got the coach of the coach of the Colts, Coach Chris Frazier here. Coach, thank you for calling in this week and this beautiful thing called Paradise.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate all the support you give to the OAA and high school sports in general, so thanks for supporting us.
Let's look at last year. Of course, I look at you guys, and I call it a game of inches. I mean, obviously, the last 2 years, you guys have lost, really heartbreaking games. I mean, on Week 9. So, but I'm going to let you recap Week 9, and then we'll talk about the Week 9 heartache.
Well, nothing will beat the Week 9 heartache of Frazier. You know what I mean? The one play to get in and out of the playoffs. But obviously, playing in close football games is a skill that you have to develop. Is staying cool under pressure. Staying calm in the big moments. So that's something that for a while, the things were going our way, and the last couple of years it's gone the other team's way. So we have to get back at Troy High of, not only capitalizing in the moment, but putting ourselves in better positions to finish those games and close those games out.
And when you look at, of course, last season, you guys had a lot of senior experience. When you look at players like Noah Early or Jalen Peacock, I mean, and then obviously, you look at you've had Darius Whiteside. I mean, you had Whiteside over there. I mean, so talk about. You know what I mean? Talk about the experience that you guys had last year. Just recap last year in your eyes.
Well, Troy High was very lucky to have a highly talented team last year. We sent 3 guys on to Division II football. So Noah Owery and Lucas Tick are both at Grand Valley, and Jalen Peacock's at Saginaw Valley. So those guys, along with the rest of the seniors, most of those guys were at least 3-year players for us, so they kind of knew the system, they kind of knew the expectations, and we relied on those guys as the year went on to make more and more plays. Noah ran the ball a lot last year from the quarterback, and Jalen played pretty much every position there was, and Lucas was the guy that we ran behind whenever it was a important down. So those were really important players for us, and we were very fortunate to coach them, and we're very happy that they're off playing at the college level. And now obviously the goal is, or the task is, to try to replace people like that, and that's obviously not going to be easy.
And you look at it with this team this year, it's not going to be easy. I mean, you look at, of course, all the experience you guys lost. We're gonna look at the offense first. I mean, obviously you got to replace Noah Orion. That is gonna be hard to do, but you do got a quarterback in Philip Cap to watch for. Talk about, obviously your quarterback situation a little bit at Troy.
Well, Noah was a 3-year player for us, and Noah had played a bunch of positions for us. He was the backup quarterback as a sophomore. He played defensive end. He played tight ends, and Noah was a really good athlete, and he was also a really good quarterback. He's really smart, so we were lucky to have him. And losing a college quarterback is something you can't easily replace. But that's kind of the name of high school sports. Every year, there's players that you wish could come back for a 5th year, but that they're going to go on and do bigger and better things besides high school football. So the quarterback position is one that is kind of up for grabs, and it's probably the most important position in sports, whether it's high school quarterback or pro quarterback. So it's something that we've been trying to develop this summer, and we've got a couple kids that are working hard for the job, and I can't tell you where it's going to go yet, but yeah, we do not have a returning quarterback, so that's something that you kind of look at every year as a coach and say, is the quarterback coming back or not? And this year it's our turn to say no.
How's the quarterback battle going? I mean, obviously, you mentioned there's like a couple quarterbacks, so how's that battle going in camp?
The battle's going pretty good. Noah's younger brother Cole was on the varsity team last year, so he's played a little bit of quarterback, and we've had another kid that was on the JV squad last year, Darius. So Darius was on the, he's been working hard at it, and we've got a couple younger kids doing it. So there's a couple kids working hard for that spot.
And then let's talk about your running game. Of course, obviously this is going to be a strength of your guys this year. So talk about that rushing attack that you guys have coming back.
So Teddy Moore will be a second-year varsity player for us. So he was a sophomore on varsity last year, so he's one of the kids in the mix. And Anthony Pereno will be a second-year senior running back for us, so he'll be another kid in the mix. And then Cole Lowry's another athlete that can play running back as well. So there's a couple of kids. All those guys have experience, and like you said, that's going to be one of the hopefully strengths of our team is those skill guys and their experience and knowledge of the system.
And let's talk about your pass catchers. Obviously, you got one returning guy at wide receiver. So talk about your passing game a little bit here. So talk about your pass catchers.
So the last couple of years we've been lucky to have, like kids that are coming back. So our guy coming back this year is Evan Bariak. So he'll be a 3-year player. He's a varsity captain for us. So he'll be a kid that's pretty much knows it all, been around the block. So he'll be one of the guys. And then to be honest with you, now it's a chance for some young guys to step up and make a case to be those receivers. So we're hopefully looking for a JV guy, a kid that didn't get reps last year to step up and take some of those other pass catching roles.
And then talk about, obviously, any impact players who can make some noise this year. At wide receiver, any impact players that OA Nation needs to know about?
So we're hoping that a junior who was on JV last year, his name is Matthew Jackson. We're hoping that maybe he could step up to take some of those snaps at receiver. Like I said, Evan Bariak. We're hoping that another one of our captains, Ryan Christensen, who was mainly a defensive player his last couple of years, we're hoping that he can take some reps at receiver. So young-wise, Matthew Jackson, older-wise, maybe Ryan Christensen can take some of those snaps and play some of those skill positions for us.
Then let's talk about the big area where you guys got to replace, and that's up front. You guys lost Lucas Tick last year graduation. Talk about some impact players that can make some noise on the offensive line, or offensive line first before we talk defense.
So offensive line, we're lucky to have 2 kids back. We're lucky to have a tackle, Mike Kolinsky, back, and our center, Cam Gillespie. So those are the 2 guys we'll rely on. And then like you said, that's the big thing is we're trying to replace, 3 guys in the offensive line, and we're trying to replace 3 guys on the defensive line too. So that's going to be one of the major stories of camp is, who's going to take those reps, and not only who's going to take those reps, shorts and t-shirts, but who's going to take those reps when pads come on. So that's going to be our biggest story in fall camp.
And then, of course, you look at, the on the other parts of defense, you got the linebacker core. Of course, you guys are loaded at linebacker. Talk about that defensive secondary a little bit for you guys.
So, like kind of the story of offense, we lost a lot of guys on defense as well, and so we're going to have to replace Greg Tester, who was one of our captains last year at Mike linebacker. So that's going to be a big task for a lot of people. And then we're going to have to replace pretty much the whole secondary. Ryan Christian comes back and Evan Bariak comes back, but the rest of the guys are going to need to be replaced. So again, kind of the similar story to what I said with the offensive and defensive lines is, some junior / new senior is going to have to take it, or a JV guy is going to have to kind of step up to take those reps.
And then let's look at the schedule. I mean, obviously, you look at your schedule this year. You guys are in the blue this year. We're going to talk the league in a minute here, but I want to break down with you your non-conference. And you guys got a 3-week stretch where you have, non-league games. I mean, you guys have Ferndale week 2. Talk about what you've seen or known with the Eagles playing them week 2.
Well, to be honest with you, Ferndale is one of those you don't know because they're going to have a new staff this year. So Coach Royal did a good job with those guys, and they were always ready to play us when we played them before. They always seem to have some big linemen and some skill guys. But to be honest with you, I don't know what to expect this year with the new staff. So we'll have to kind of take a peek at them after their scrimmage in their week 1 to see what they're doing this year. So that's kind of one of those unknowns for us. And then week 3 we play a brand new team, Flint Powers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we've never played them before, so that's something we'll have to kind of take a peek at as well.
And then of course week 4. Last year you played Lake Orion. Now you get our rival Clarkston week 4. So talk about having to play the Wolves. You got them at home, so talk about that matchup.
Well, obviously it's just like Lake Orion last year. Clarkston's one of those programs that's traditionally a good program, a powerhouse. So you always respect what they do and how they run their program. So, they're going to give us a tough challenge in week 4, but, you get a week to prepare for them. So we're going to do our darndest to make sure we're ready to rock, and we'll see how we can match up against them.
And then let's look at your conference. Of course, you guys are in the blue this year. Obviously, you open up the year week 1 against Bloomfield Hills. Talk about, opening up with Coach Scott Merchant's team first week of the year.
So last year was, week 1 was a good week for us away at Bloomfield, but similar to Ferndale, it's a brand new staff. So, Coach Merchant's going to obviously put his twist on Bloomfield and have them ready to go. We were lucky to play Coach in the playoffs when he was at Chip, and they kind of took us to town then. They had a really good team, so we're expecting, Coach Merchant to have those guys ready to rock week 1.
And then, of course, let's talk about the other teams in the division here. Let's start with Farmington. Talk about them. I mean, obviously, when you look at the Falcons, talk about, what was it like to have to take on Farmington last year, and what will you expect with them?
Farmington's always traditionally been a physical football team, and they've always had some big men up front that give some teams fit, and they seem like they always can mix a couple skill guys with a really good quarterback. So, Farmington's traditionally in the last couple of years has been a tough test for us. So we're expecting nothing but the same again this year. Physical kids that can run, and usually a quarterback that puts it all together.
Let's talk Oak Park. I mean, the Knights, Coach Greg Carter's system very well. Talk about having to play against him consistently. Talk about the Oak Park Knights.
Oak Park's always one of those matchups where, what you're going to get. Coach Carter gets those guys ready to go, and over the years, traditionally, I can remember vivid memories of the Oak Park defensive line, and they always present us with a tough task, whether they have a guy in the middle that could, dominate from the middle, or some defensive ends that can collapse the pocket. And, obviously on offense, they're always going to have some talented players as well. So, playing Oak Park always provides us with a challenge, and I guarantee they're going to do the same again this year.
And let's talk about Seaholm. Obviously, Seaholm's been a team that's been giving everybody problems in the division, especially with the veer offense that they run. So talk about having to play Seaholm and having to prepare for the triple option, the veer option offense that they like to run.
Yeah, every league always has that team that's that's been like the alpha for the last couple of years, and obviously Seaholm has been that alpha for the OAA Blue the last couple of years. They're kind of the program that everyone tries to emulate, and like I think the biggest compliment I can give them is you see some of their players like walking around, and you're like, all right, that kid's decently sized, but not like enormous. But they're like one of the most physical teams that we play. They come off the ball hard, and they're obviously their offense is unique with the veer and things like that in the midline. But the biggest compliment I can give them is they're just straight physical, and that's something that they have stuck with over the years, and that kind of has given not only Troy but other teams in the OAA Blue some challenges throughout the last couple of years.
And then let's talk about the team that knocked you guys out of the playoffs last year, North Farmington. You had to go down there for their homecoming, and it was not a good way to end the year. So talk about having to play the Raiders. You guys get to play them this year on your home field.
Yeah, like last year, Week 9 was not the way we wanted to end it, but sometimes in life it is what it is. Kind of similar to the last couple of teams we talked about. They had a defensive lineman in the last 3 years that physically could dominate the game from the inside, and we kind of struggle with him, and then North Farmington would get the ball, and they kind of just took it to us last year. I think the first play from scrimmage they went for 80 yards or something like that last year, and it was kind of downhill from there. So North Farmington is a team that we need to make some tweaks and some changes this year, and hopefully the story goes a little bit different on our home turf as opposed to theirs.
And then I saved the best for last, Troy Athens. The rivalry there. I know I had Coach Cook on my podcast a couple weeks ago. So talk about, the rivalry with Athens and the kids' mindset. I mean, because I know it gets really interesting over there between Troy and Troy Athens.
Well, for sure. Well, obviously playing a crosstown rival is something that you remember, and something that it doesn't matter what the team's records are. It's one of those games where we call it a 365-day game. If you win that game, you can smile for 365 days. And if you lose that game, you got to frown. It's something that, both sides take very serious. And, I have to commend Coach Cook and the message he sends to his team. So his team plays us hard every year, but they don't cross the line. They don't do some of the crazy things from the past. So, he has his guys prepared, and they kind of go to the line and then they stop. They don't cross the line on things that are necessary, and hopefully that's the same case for us, as we want to make sure that we're competing as hard as we can, but not doing the unnecessary things that kind of don't shine well on your program or your city.
I do want to get your thoughts on this one here. Coach, the boys basketball program at Troy, of course, legendary coach Gary Freilich. He's going to be in the Michigan High School Basketball Hall of Fame. So talk about that honor for him, and also talk about your relationship with Coach Freilich.
So I've known Coach Freilich since I was a young kid. He worked for a long time with my mother, and so Coach Freilich, I owe a lot of gratitude towards. He was the person that actually started me in my coaching career. So way back in the day, I was a JV volunteer coach for him, and he kind of started my path on coaching. So I owe Coach Freilich a lot of gratitude and a lot of respect for actually getting me in the coaching game. And I consider Coach Freilich a good friend, and he's one of those guys that he has nothing but Troy High on his mind all the time. He's the kid he's the coach that'll be at school at 10 in the morning in the middle of fall getting basketball ready. And we talk weekly, and he always comes out and supports our football program. So I've got nothing but great things to say about Coach Freilich, and we're very proud to have him in the Hall of Fame, something that he greatly deserves.
And then let's talk program strength. Obviously, this is an area where, you guys have had some success, especially talk about your youth levels, talk about your sub-varsity levels, talk about your middle school programs.
So, we've been lucky the last couple of years that there's been a couple, a resurgence in young men interested in football in Troy. So we're hoping it continues this year. We've had some good turnouts from off-season workouts, and, we never know who's going to show up the first day, but we're hoping that a solid class of freshmen shows up, and we call those guys the lifeblood of the team. Without those younger people, restocking the system. Like old guys like me can't hang around the game anymore. So that's something we've been lucky to have, and they do a good job at the middle school and at the Cowboys level, kind of promoting football. So we've got nothing but good things to say about the lower levels in Troy.
Talk about your middle school programs. Obviously, I know. Obviously, I talked to Coach Cook about this same question. So I'm going to ask you the same question. I think you look at the middle school program. So talk about the impact your middle school coaches have had for Troy.
Well, I think the biggest bonus that they've had the last couple of years is each middle school, not just the Troy High side, but the Athens sides, they have teachers in the building coaching middle school sports, which not only helps, with continuity, with knowing the kids, but also promoting the program. So we've been lucky. I think the biggest thing that I can say is that they've done a good job at the under level of having coaches in the building promote the sport and having like that relationship that those teachers have with the students help, funnel more kids into sports, not only football, but basketball and all those things. And that's the biggest thing that we want at Troy is, I don't care what sport you're playing, but you just come out and play some sports, whether it's basketball, soccer, whatever it is, but just do something. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about the community impact. Obviously, you look at Troy. I know their student section, they have a deer head as the tradition there at Troy. Talk about the impact of the community around Troy when it comes to the football program.
Well, like nothing beats Friday Night Lights. I actually was sent a clip 3 days ago of I think Greg Olson. He was talking on a podcast talking about he's had so many successes in football, but nothing will beat that high school Friday night experience for him. And it's something that's undescribable. You know what I mean? Being in front of your home fans on a Friday night and hopefully winning a football game is something that I remember from 25 years ago, so that's kind of what we hope that kids get to experience is the idea of playing in front of their home fans, playing in front of the band, playing in front of their parents, playing in front of their student section, and hopefully at the end of the night getting to able to sing the fight song with them. And like I said, those are memories that most of our athletic stories will be the peak. You know what I mean? Many of us, if not most of us, won't get up to be able to play college. So that's kind of the goals and what we're trying to get the kids to grasp is that's the goal every Friday is to be able to sing the fight song in front of your friends and family.
What is the mantra this year, the theme for Troy football this upcoming season?
I don't necessarily know if we have a specific slogan or mantra or things like that, but every year, people ask me, what's the goal? What's the goal? What's the goal? And we just want to compete. Again, obviously losing 9 games is not ideal, but if you're competitive every game, then so be it. So our mantra, what we're trying to instill in the boys is we're going to compete no matter what the score is. We've had some situations this summer where we use it as a learning experience. Hey, this is a competition, and things in life might not always go your way, and it might not be easy, but you're going to have to compete no matter what. So that's kind of the goals that we're trying to instill in the boys, and maybe you can call that our mantra is just being competitive no matter what the situation in life or what the score on a football field is.
Any changes to the football uniform this year? Of course, one of the things that I loved about your guys' look when you went back to Nike, you guys look so sharp in those Nike uniforms. I absolutely love that look. Any change to the uniforms this upcoming season?
Well, what do you think? Do you think we should change?
No.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. We actually got some new white jerseys this year, and we didn't change them that much. But the reason that we got new white jerseys is just really, really hard to keep those whites, nice and crispy white. So we, the varsity staff or the varsity program, got new white jerseys this year, and we're going to pass down those white ones to the JV. So the JV will have the nice crisp white ones as well.
You guys going to have white pants too?
So I got some new white pants to go along with it, and like I said, they're not radically different. So only a keen eye like you could see the difference. So instead of all black trim, there's a little gray trim, and it's a different kind of little cut. But for the most part, it kind of looks the same. But we did get some new pants, and the pants have Colts lettering on the side this year, so that's a little different as well.
you guys are gonna get an A+ when I do the uniform grades. I love that Troy look, even with the black helmet. You know what I mean? I really love that look that you guys have.
Yep.
Before I let you go, Coach, what is the expectations this year for Troy football?
Well, again, similar to 5 minutes ago talking, I think the biggest expectation is we need to, as a staff, as a team, as players, learn how to compete no matter what the score is. So if week 1 we're down by 50, then we need to compete. If week 1 we're up by 50, we need to compete, So I think that's the expectation, and that's one of those, non-negotiables, you know what I mean? So we need to be able to compete, and we're going to try to add some things in practice this year and in camp this year to kind of help establish the idea of competition, because I don't necessarily know, if that's been the case.
Troy coach Chris Frazier here. Thank you for calling in this week on the podcast. I will see you at Media Day coming up in about a week or two.
I'll see you in about a week and a half, my friend. Thanks again.
Yep. God bless, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Troy coach Chris Frazier here on the podcast. When I look at Troy this year, and they do have to replace a lot, I am curious to see how the quarterback situation is going to look with them. I'm also curious to see how everything's going to look with this team. There are a lot of question marks with Troy. You look at, of course, the big questions that I have is going to particularly be up front. If they can get the offensive line, both lines straightened up, they could surprise some people. I think the schedule is also a challenge for them as well. So that is going to also be an interesting challenge for Troy as well. When you look at this team last season, you got to look at Troy from a perspective of, we're going to play that worksman-like style. You know what I mean? That's going to be, you got to work. And I know that they do a really good job over at Troy, but I'm very curious to see how this team responds after the last 2 years where they've lost, they lost a dramatic game a couple years ago against Frazier. We talked about that. And then, of course, last year, when he mentioned about the long touchdown, it was Terrence James's 69-yard touchdown on 4th down, just off the zone read, which basically snowballed that game. So when I look at Troy this year, I think this is a team that, they have. I think this is probably going to be a team that has, you look at, of course, with nothing to lose and everything to gain. I think this is a team that I think Troy could have. This is a team that has nothing to lose and everything to gain. So this is going to be a team that I think could really do some damage this season. They got a chance to. I mean, the schedule, they could just come in and shock everybody. They could shock some people. And I think that's really going to be where I think Troy could really do some damage. I think this team could really do some damage. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we're going to see what happens, but I think Troy's a team that really could surprise some people, but they can also struggle as well. I mean, there's some question marks. What if the line struggles? What if the quarterback game struggles? What if the strength of their team, which is going to be the rushing attack, what if they struggle? I mean, there's so many things that can happen that, you got to be aware of with Troy. So that's something to really keep an eye on as we head into the season, is what will happen with what's going to happen with Troy, and especially with the division they're in. That's the big question mark. So we'll see what happens. All right, now we come back. We're going to talk to the new coach of the Bloomfield Hills Blackhawks, Coach Scott Merchant, here on the podcast. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sammy Termina here. We got the new coach of the Bloomfield Hills Blackhawks, Coach Scott Merchant. Thank you for calling in this week.
Thanks for having me, Sammy. It's good to talk to you again.
When you look at, of course, people are going to ask me about this, and I know you've gotten a lot of questions about this. You were at Chippewa Valley, and then you were at Lawrence Tech. So what made the decision for you to take the Bloomfield Hills job?
Well, there's a couple things. Number one was probably my family. My wife's been a teacher in Bloomfield Hills for over 25 years. My daughter graduated from the high school. My son's going to be a junior. He played varsity last year. And we've lived in the district for over 11 years. So that was the number one thing. The other thing was after a year of, being back in college, I really missed being in a high school, not only as a coach, but being a counselor and working in the school with, all different kinds of students and different kinds of teachers and administrators, whereas, in college, it's a lot different than that. There really is something special about Friday Night Lights. There's really nothing like it in the world.
And when you look at the team you're taking over, I mean, like, obviously you're taking over Coach Loria, who's now at New Baltimore, Anchor Bay. How's the transition been going for you?
For me, it's been great. I've really enjoyed the time that I've been at Bloomfield, not only with working with the kids, but the parents, and then also the administration and the teachers there. So from my perspective, like I'm definitely excited and happy about the move. For the kids, I think there's a lot of changes we're asking them to make right now. So I think there's going to be definitely a learning curve there, but they're working hard, and we've been busy trying to make those changes during the summer.
When you look at last year's stats, they were just mind-boggling. 5-22 since 2021. Offensively, Bloomfield Hills had scored 93 points, which is 10.3 points a game, which is the second worst in the league last season. Defensively was 33.8 points against last year, 305 points, which was the worst in the league last year. You guys got a lot of changes that you're going to have to make this season.
Yeah, I think there's, it's neither here nor there for me to evaluate last year because everything's new and everything's different. It's a new year, new staff, new schemes. So, we can only move forward and try to get better at the things we're trying to do. We do have some good players. We have some good kids. We've got a bunch of kids that have been working hard this summer. So my hope is that, they're open to change and they want to help turn things around.
And when you look at, of course, the team you guys got coming back, and one of the things, and we're going to talk about this later on in the pod, it's going to be your program strength. But when we look at this team here, it looks like you guys got a lot of experience coming back on the offensive side of the ball. If you want to talk about your offense, tell me your offensive returners. Talk to me about you got your quarterback coming back, you got couple running backs coming back. So talk about your offensive
Sure.
offensive returners.
Yeah, I think it always starts up front, and I think we have some excellent seniors. We have two outstanding seniors, I think, who are going to have great years. We have Nolan Metz, who started last year at a tackle, and he'll be moving into a guard position. He's 6'5", 385. He's a road grader, big, physical, strong kid. And then Grant Main will be an offensive tackle for us. He started last year. He's about 6'2", 285, maybe 280. He's a good athlete, plays 3 sports. So really excited up front to start with those guys. And then we have, some younger guys coming up that have looked good this summer. We have to replace our tight end. And then, Rocco Colosimo right now is the leader in the clubhouse heading into camp for the quarterback position. And he's got a couple of years experience playing. Obviously, it's a different system, but it's always nice when your quarterback has some varsity experience. And then probably the most dynamic guy on offense for us is Jad Almsade, who is he was a sophomore last year, and he'll be a junior this year. He's a guy who can play, outside receiver. He can play slot. He can play running back. He is, he's a talented football player.
And then, of course, you look at there's one player that has had a lot of has gotten a lot of hype this year, and that's Mason. So talk about what the development of Mason's been in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, Mason, he's been having a good summer. He's a really, really hard worker. He was kind of a fifth quarter guy for them last year. He didn't get a ton of time as a sophomore, but he did get some, which is always valuable. So we're excited to have him back, and definitely look for a lot of progress from him from last year to this year. But anytime you can put a guy who's 6'4" out wide, and he's athletic and can jump, it creates mismatches on the perimeter, and we have to be able to do that. So he's been having a good summer, working hard, and again, like he's trying to learn the new system, and once he does, I think he's going to have a good year for us.
Let's look at the defense. I mean, obviously, I know, Coach, I know you've been one of the best offensive minds in the game. So talk about your defense. I mean, like last season, as we mentioned, we talked about that. Any impact players make some noise on that side of the football?
Yes, I think up front, we're going to be pretty young, but we have one senior coming back, Avery Lewis, who had a real solid junior year, and we kind of see him as the leader of the defensive line group. Then we have a number of juniors and seniors who didn't start last year that are working in there. If we do have one thing, I've been really encouraged by the number of linemen we have on both sides of the ball. A lot of times, you got a million skilled kids and nobody wants to play line, and we're pretty 50-50, which is nice to have some depth on the line. Linebacker, I'm excited about. We have some really good candidates. We have 3 kids that played last year. We have Cam Harst, who played inside, and Brian Snyder played inside. Brian missed kind of half the year with an injury or illness, and then Will Merchant started outside last year. So we have 3 kids that started at linebacker coming back. And then in the secondary, Eddie Hruska played a corner. He'll be a senior. And then Jad Almsade, who I mentioned on offense, he also started at safety last year. And then a guy who I think is a real sleeper, who has really blossomed this summer, is a kid named Brent Brooks, who's going to be a senior. He's a cornerback, and I really like what I've seen out of him this summer. So our defensive coordinator is Mike Quinlan, who used to be the D coordinator at Brother Rice under Adam Korzaneski. And Mike's been doing a great job along with our defensive staff this summer. And I think we're making some progress on that side of the ball for sure.
When you look at X factors, and I know we talked a lot of players here, any X factors that you want OAA Nation to keep a really close eye on that can make some serious noise?
I think Caden Gully is going to be a junior, and he was the running back on JV last year. He's also a defensive back. He's had a really good summer. And then I think Bennett Costas is a kid to watch at tight end. And then we have We have 3 sophomores to keep an eye on that we're real excited about. We have the Commit brothers, Desi and Faley. Desi's a running back, defensive back, and then Faley is a linebacker, running back. And then we have a big sophomore. He'll be a sophomore lineman, Wilson Terrace, who's about 295, 290, and he's a heavyweight wrestler as well. So, we've got some young kids in the mix that if they keep progressing, they may find themselves in key roles on the varsity this year as sophomores.
And that's going to be key when you look at you guys, and that's going to come down. I'm going to talk program strength in a couple minutes here, but I want to talk your schedule. I mean, like, you look at a course of schedule you guys have. You guys are in the blue. We're going to talk your non-conference first. You guys open up. You guys have week 2. You take on Royal Oak. What was your thought process when you look at a team like Royal Oak week 2? You're going up against them.
Yeah, I mean, our schedule was done before I got there, so that's what they gave us. I mean, for us, we're a team that's been 1-8 the last 2 years, so we know every single game is going to be a difficult game until we prove otherwise. So, not to be cliche, Sammy, but I take it 1 week at a time.
I know.
We look at it as 1 week seasons. So, right now our focus is on us and trying to get us to be as good as it can be. And then we got to get ready for Troy in our opener in week 1 at Troy.
I know, but when I look at the schedule, I noticed the schedule. You guys got West Bloomfield week 8, and that's going to be a test game for you guys, the Battle of Bloomfield. I know that, talk about that rivalry. I know you were at Chippewa Valley. You had to deal with Macomb, Dakota in the past. Now you had the Battle of Bloomfield with West Bloomfield and you guys. So talk about that rivalry in your mind.
Yeah, I don't know if it really is one because West Bloomfield, has been pretty dominant the last 10 or 12 years. And I think Bloomfield's beaten them once since they merged as a high school. Now, they haven't played every year, obviously. But, that'd be great if we could make it into a rivalry. I don't know if it is a rivalry yet, at least I don't think they probably look at it like that because we haven't been a threat. So it would be great, if we could build our program and get to the point where we're competitive with West Bloomfield and then, that became a rivalry since we border each other. That'd be great. But yeah, that's big boy football. That's OAA Red. Those guys are one of the best leagues in the state. And, that's going to be a great test for us. That's where we want to take our program to. So win or lose, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves in that game for sure.
Let's talk about a strength that you guys had, and that's program strength. Of course, talk about the youth levels, talk about the middle school program, and talk about your sub-varsity programs for me.
Sure. Well, I've had an opportunity to meet with, our middle school coaches. We have 2 middle schools, and, we have 2 coaches at each of those schools. I've met with them. I'm excited about them and, shared kind of my vision for the program and they're on board. So everything starts down there. I think they had about 40 kids on each of those teams last year. So our numbers down there are pretty good. And then our incoming freshman class, I just saw our freshman coach and he said he's got over 50 kids that have signed up to play. Now, signing up and showing up are 2 different things, as you know. But, if we have 40 freshmen or more, we're going to feel really good about that. And then our JV numbers are a little low. I don't know exactly why. They had a good season on freshmen last year. They went 7-2. But there was only about 26 of them, 28 of them. So we're in the mid-20s with our sophomores. We have a really large junior class. I think we have around 30 juniors. And then we have, I want to say, like 16 to 18 seniors. So we're looking at having right around 50 on varsity, probably like 25 on JV, and hopefully 40 on freshmen.
And then also, have you talked to any of the youth coaches? You know, youth football coaches at all? You know, looking at the Bloomfield Hills youth football programs.
Yeah, we only have a flag league in Bloomfield right now, so that's something that we're going to be looking at in the future. But I have spoken to Coach Genevieve, who's been running the flag league in Bloomfield for like 30 years, and different ways to get our players involved in the program. And last spring we had a bunch of our players coach the youth teams, so that was a positive thing. We're going to have a community night and invite all the youth, elementary and middle school players to come to a game. So we're trying to make, trying to get out into the community and make it definitely like a point of pride on and off the field. And, we want to grow the program and keep our kids at home, and hopefully, choosing to go to Bloomfield High School instead of, a private school.
And then let's talk about the community aspect. Of course, you've experienced it as a father. Talk about the community impact that impacts at Bloomfield Hills.
Well, our community, it's an exciting time right now. We've got a ton of construction going on at the school, at the stadium. They're redoing the stadium right now. We'll have a brand new entrance to the stadium. We have a brand new home side restrooms and a tennis room that they put in for our 3-time state champ tennis program. They're putting in a new track, and then they've also put in a new strength and conditioning center, which isn't open yet. It's going to be unbelievable. I'd put it in the top 1% in the state. It's nicer than a lot of colleges. And then we have 2 new team rooms underneath. So the strength and conditioning center is on the 2nd level, and the team rooms are on the bottom level, which is going to be nice because then neither the home or the visiting team need to go inside the school at any point. They can just stay out. So, our community passed that bond a few years ago, and I think when everybody sees the results in the beginning of the season, they're going to be really happy with how the money was spent. Our job as coaches is to put a good product on the field and to make kids want to stay. It's a great school academically. We send kids to, all over the country, into some of the best schools in the country. Tons of kids go to Michigan. And now if we can do our job and put a quality football program out there, hopefully we can plus our enrollment and have, grow our program, and hopefully, eventually it'd be nice to work our way up the OAA. I'm a believer in competition makes you better, and not that the competition isn't good in the blue, but our enrollment's bigger than some of those schools. So if we do what we're supposed to do, then maybe we move up to the white eventually. So
what's it going to take? You know what I mean? Obviously, for Bloomfield Hills, to be a postseason team. I mean, you've experienced playoffs before. You've won a state championship at Chippewa Valley. Is there any similarities to Bloomfield Hills than what you saw at Chippewa Valley? Is there similarities between the two schools?
No, it was kind of a different deal. Chippewa was, they were like middle of the pack when I got there. They had been on top, and then they had kind of slipped a little bit to middle of the pack. This reminds me a lot more of when I got to U of D Jesuit, my first head coaching job, and they had only had 2 winning seasons in like 20 years, and our first year we went 4-5, and people were ecstatic about that because they hadn't been very good. And then the second year we went 10-3 and went to the state semifinals. So that'd be great if that happened again, but there's a lot of similarities between the academics, the facility, the construction, and the kids. The kids at UAD were tired of losing, and they were very open to changing the narrative. And I've seen that so far with the kids at Bloomfield too. So, hopefully we're able to turn it around in a similar way as to what we did at UAD.
Any changes to the uniforms? Obviously, I've been a uniform critic as well. I mean, yeah, I've been a real uniform critic. But Bloomfield Hills last few years, I've loved the all black look that they had. Then they went to a purple look. Any changes to the uniforms that you guys are making this year under the new era of Coach Scott Merchant?
No, all that stuff had been ordered by the time I started in February. So I think the only thing different, we have the same. Our home jersey's black with purple and white, and our away jersey's white with purple and black, and we have the same pants as well, so we can mix and match with black and white. But we do not have a purple jersey as of now. They did change the helmet a little bit. It's a matte black instead of a shiny, not a big deal, but it looks pretty clean, and then still has the Blackhawk logo on the side, but it's an all black helmet. So I don't think that's the only difference is it's matte instead of the glossy. So no, not really.
So when you look at, of course, before I let you go, Coach, what are the expectations this year at Bloomfield Hills?
Well, my expectation is just, to make football important and relevant there. And that's something that kids hopefully are going to want to do and take pride in. And we're going to work really hard. We're going to do things the right way on and off the field. We have a good group of coaches that I feel really fortunate about. So I think we have a lot of pieces in place, but there's no substitute for hard work. And if we're going to do it, we might as well put everything we have into it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. So I think just, the big question is going to be how quick can they pick up the offense? How quick can they pick up the defense? And then, as you know, there's going to be rough patches in games and in the season. And how do they respond to that? When you haven't had success for a while, in general, kids tend to give up or give in when things get bad. And we got to figure out a way to fight through that adversity and come out the other side. So those are some of the main things we're going to focus on, just becoming a family and, becoming part of the community. And we want to get, bigger, stronger, and we want to be tougher. And our goal is to be competitive. That's our goal. We want to be competitive in the OAA blue. And when people play us, we want them to know that, hey, we were in a battle. The team is, well prepared, and they played hard, and they were tough. And that's kind of what we're looking for this year, to be better and get as much as we can out of this group.
One more question before I let you go, Coach. Do you have a mantra, a theme this year for Bloomfield Hills football?
Yeah, we do an annual motto, and wherever I've been, and I let the kids pick it. So they picked all in for our motto this year. And I think that's important with all changes and everything. You have to be all in, or it's not going to go well. So that's what we're rolling with, and hopefully, we continue to live out that motto every day for the rest of the season. If we do, I think we have a chance to have some success.
Bloomfield Hills coach Scott Merchant, thank you for calling in this week here on the podcast. I can't wait to see you at Media Day in about a week and a half.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It was all those years ago when you were at Lake Orion and we were at Chippewa playing you guys. I remember talking to you back then, and it's nice to reconnect, Sammy. We'll see you at Media Day.
It is nice to reconnect. Take care. God bless, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Bloomfield Hills coach Scott Merchant here on the podcast. I'm telling you, Bloomfield Hills, they could do something. I'm telling you. I mean, look, he's got that team heading in the right direction. I'm telling you. Watch out for Bloomfield Hills. They could surprise some people. They could really much well surprise some people. I think they're going to do it. We'll see what happens. I'm going to sign off here. Make sure you follow the blog at Blogspot.com for the latest information around the OA. Take care, God bless, and I will see you all next week. Everybody, take care, and God bless all.